Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today's going to be a very interesting project. We are going to be hot rodding a brand new Penn Senator, the US Senator version. It's the only Senator made in the United States. This is brand new out of the box, and the owner has asked me to do some upgrades on this one to hot rod this reel. Well, what did he mean by that? Well, he asked me to do two things. He asked me to go get the Cortez Conversion kit. That's the solid plate sides as opposed to the Bakelite or plastic sides. And more importantly, the redesigned bridge with the stainless steel shaft for the gearing. This one is, well, it's subject to failure. If there's a weak point in the reel, this is it. And so Cortez Conversions, who's a machine shop in California, decided they were going to go ahead and make the conversion pieces for this so that you can have a more reliable U.S. Senator. In addition to that, I was also asked to convert over the stock bearings to the Boca Bearing hybrid system, and these are ABEX 7 hybrid bearings for the reel. So what we will see today is we will see how to take this reel apart, swap out all the pieces and parts. If you have one of these, it'll show you how to service the reel, and then at the end of the day you'll see about that conversion kit with the new bearings and how it improves the performance of the US Senator. In this case, this one is the 4.0 Senator. It's the 113. Beautiful reel by itself, but always subject to upgrades. That's what we're going to do today. So let me clean off the table a little bit. We're just going to put the side plates out of the way. Same thing with the bearings. We'll move those to a safe place. There's the trip lever that goes into the side plate, the bridge. We'll put all of that off to the side. And let's get started with the disassembly. To start with the disassembly, we want to move the exterior pieces. That includes the handle, the star adjuster, and the side plate. And when we do this, what we want to make certain of is that we take pictures along the way and that we have a backup plan just in case we start getting distracted or something comes up and you have to walk away from the project and find out that, well, you lost your sequence of pieces and parts, you forgot where one went, you had another issue that couldn't be resolved, and now you're kind of out of luck, right? So take the pictures. They're invaluable in making these projects work without a hitch. And well, we're getting started by taking off the handle. While I do that, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel if you like these types of videos, if you like to learn more about the fishing reels, the service of those reels, how to keep them fishing for a long time, who made those reels, and well, how they're used in the environment. And this one would be used for big fish in a deep lake or Great Lakes or saltwater environment. Okay, we've removed the star adjuster. Underneath that we have the click ring assembly. Inside that click ring assembly there is a washer. I like to put that right into there. That's one of the bearings we will be removing and replacing as we go ahead with this install. There are 4 side plate screws. When you remove them, make sure that your screwdriver matches the slot in the screw. If you're working with one that's undersized, you have a chance to flare the inside of the screw. And if you flare that out, it's called butterflying, but if you flare that out, you may not be able to get it out the next time or even to reinstall it this time around. Well, this conversion comes with different screws. We're going to make sure that David, who owns this reel, gets it back with all the pieces that have been removed, so that should he want to go reinstall back to the original, he can do that. And also, I guess, if he wanted to recover some of the value of the original pieces in here, then he can certainly go ahead and put them out on the market in the aftermarket pricing and make that work. This is the second bearing right here. It's in the spool. It's a small bearing. goes for the clutch, and then a bigger bearing on the outside. So that's 3 of the 4 bearings we have. This is your main bearing. It just kind of removed itself for me. That was wonderful. And a little spacer behind that. And we have the bearing in the back case there. Okay. We will start by working on this bridge and the outer plate assembly. We're going to be transferring those pieces and parts over to the new assembly. We're going to start by removing the old bridge, the old new bridge. To do that, there are 4 bridge post screws that we need to remove. And this has a double dog system, but it does not have an instant anti-reverse. So what's going to be new and what's going to be old with this reel when we're done? Well, you're going to reuse the gears, the eccentric lever, the jack, and the yoke. The rest of the pieces and parts, for the most, are going to be replaced. So you can see the replacement side plate here does not utilize the trim ring. It's a one-piece metal that should provide additional strength for the reel. And you don't need to worry about breaking that side plate there. Okay, we've removed the old bridge. Now let's remove, and take a picture of this before you go removing anything. We're going to remove that jack now. Do that by pushing down on the yoke and sliding this off. If you can't grip it either because of hand strength, or if you can't grip it because it's got all grease on it, just use the pliers to help you along. This is your pinion gear. Notice all of the grease that Penn has put on this when it ships. Is that the optimal amount of grease? Probably not. Most of the time these things come from the plant totally overloaded with grease, so that they don't, it doesn't all evaporate, and you wind up taking a reel out dry for your first time fishing. All right, we should be able to work that bearing out of there. This bearing is in the cap. This little piece here actually helps. This cap does get reused, so it does go back into the side plate of the new one, and we have a replacement bearing here for that. So let's, before we go too far, let's try and match that bearing up with one of the ones that Boca has provided. I believe it's this one. Yep, so that one, just make sure that it fits. It does. And actually you can use that to install that. That's the pinion gear shaft, but go ahead and just put that in there. So why do you change over brand new bearings? Well, one of the things is these are stainless steel bearings, shielded, and stainless steel bearings run oiled, so that means that they run slower than dry bearings, which is the ceramic bearings. And because they're steel, they are subject to rust and deterioration, and the ceramic bearings are not. So the ceramic bearings run faster because they don't need to be lubricated. Oil will slow the bearing performance down. They run truer because they don't wear. And they do represent quite a performance improvement over the stock. All right, these are all cleaned up now. We can go back in and reinstall. We have 2 springs after we replace the bearing. The 2 springs get seated. Now I don't go as crazy with the grease as the plant does, but again, think about what happens to a reel after manufacture. That reel goes into some kind of storage, either on site or in a warehouse somewhere. After the storage, the next thing that happens with that reel is it gets shipped somewhere, probably a distribution center. That distribution center then puts it out somewhere to sell, a retail place. That whole process, well, it can last months. Well, those places that we were just talking about there, all those pieces and parts, they're hot. they're not temperature controlled, whether it's on the road or if it's just being stored in a distribution center or a warehouse or something, and all of those pieces and parts in a hot environment evaporate greases and oils. Okay, before I can put that yoke assembly in, the next step is to replace the eccentric. This is a double dog eccentric. Well, this is what we're talking about, making sure that you use the right tool for the job. Make sure that that matches. Here's your place you might want to take a picture. We have an insert on the side here and here, double dog. That's the first piece that can go in the returns parts tray. We should be able to lift up, keep the orientation of that. This is the second piece now. You can see we've gotten a lot of old grease. We'll clean that up before we get that back to David, but we don't need to spend a lot of time during this video doing that. All right, now we have the two angular structures. One is here and one is the corner there. You want to bring these in. That's the way you're going to set it, but then what you have to do is you have to turn this. Sometimes you can turn it with hand strength. Sometimes you need a little more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pliers, because my hands are not what they used to be. Grab my pliers, gently hold that little tag end of the... Once we remove that eccentric, we want to put that grommet in place. It seats in here. Now we can bring the eccentric in from the other side. The springs fall off, don't worry terribly, you just kind of hook them back on. I use the pliers an awful lot, particularly for things like this where it's kind of not easy to do. With the springs set, there's two little rubber pieces. They go on to the bridges of this lever. That's one on, here's the other. It's just a little rubber band, it just snaps over and seats itself in the ridge. Okay, two rubber bands are on. The spring is reset. Bring our lever over. There is a washer that goes. Then we reuse the mounting screw. This will be a nice look. It'll be a kind of a red or a burgundy and a silver match. Very nice. Once you've completed the installation of the eccentric, make sure that it works, and then we can move on to installing the rest of this side plate. I'm going to start by that post. That's going to go through your pinion gear. Your pinion gear is going to face out with the square shoulder. Find your yoke side. There is a ramp right here that's going to facilitate the jack going up and down, so make sure that that ramp faces outwards, as does the squared shoulder. We can set our two springs into the cavities. We can bring our assembly over, and then pushing down on the assembly, we can install the jack. Slip it over the post, and that is your inner workings of your assembly now. Okay, next up then we have the two bearings that are on here. We can remove the outer one and the inner one. Sometimes this bearing goes missed because people don't realize that it's even here. Takes a little bit to get it out of there. There we go. And we can go to our Boca Bearing assortment, find the little one. That's going to sit on the top of your shaft over here. It's going to nestle into the spool. So you can put it on either. You can put it on the shaft or you can put it into the spool casing, either way. Okay, once you get the little bearing out, the easiest way to do this is just take that small bearing, put it on the post of the pinion gear, which is where it's going to ride. And let's match up the bigger bearing for the those and put those away. Again, we'll get these back to David just in case he has a need for them at some future time. You shouldn't have a need. Once you upgrade to ceramic bearings, they should be bearings for life. Okay, there's some grease on the side here. You don't need the greases. You can mop that up. Bring this over. Then we just have one more bearing on the other side, but that other side is going to include the removal of that side plate and transition. So let's stay with this side then. We have the new bridge. We have the gearing that needs to swap over. Simply pull that gearing out. Okay, we've removed the gears. Time to reinstall them on the other side. We've replaced the bearing underneath. Simply a cap. And then our tension washer. And we're ready to reinstall this. Now because the dogs, in this case one of the dogs has fallen off, but because the dogs are already on the sleeve here, there's no need to do anything funny or any trick behind just loading this up and bringing this in. So we're just going to aim, set, make sure you're on the pegs. Once you're on the pegs, time to reinstall the new screws. You do use the original bridge screws, and all four of those are the same. Keep that from slipping. Two more. I'd put them in opposite directions. I kind of go northeast, southwest when I install these. This is the third of the four. This is the fourth of the four. And that completes the gear side, other than attaching it to the reel. Okay, just test it, make sure everything's running fine. It's running beautifully. You can put a little bit of grease onto the shoulders here, and we did grease that main gear before we put that back on. So let's just set that off to the side now. We have our new bearing structure over here. So now it's time to go to the non-gear side plate. And we will have a transition again here. We're going to use the old carrier and the bearing in here. And we're going to use the side plate lug. And I believe we do have replacement screws in the pack for this. We'll see. We should, because the replacement screws should be indented. Well, if you have any questions about this reel or any reel, if I haven't answered any questions about why you would hot rod a reel here, if you want to know more information about them, please just leave those in the comment section. I will try to answer those for you. Okay. This is our frame. Remember which side the frame is for the gear side. I'm not sure it matters, but the other side is the gear side. And we can put that aside as well. I need to pause for a moment. There's one more bearing that I have in the package somewhere. To replace the bearing on the non-gear side, you remove the carrier there's a tie-down clip that's pressed in, and then the bearing sits behind that. So when we go to replace the new one, we simply seat that in here, bring that clip in, and just push down on it. That should be enough to set it. If you need to, you can just grab a flat edge of your screwdriver and bring that in. Okay, to continue with this, the next piece up, then we could put this in first. The other piece will be to transfer the click mechanism. Let's go ahead and put this in. Let's go to the other side plate then and remove the click mechanism and ring. We have a C-clip holding on the click dog. We have the click ring. Simply remove the ring. And in this conversion, they're going to give you 2 screws to hold the ring in rather than the one. So this screw can come off to the side. You'll see there's the 2 pegs there. They're actually going to use the holes for the pegs as the way to tie that down. And we can remove the E-clip that's holding on the dog. I'll leave that right on the bench here because we're just going to push that out and around. And in our screw clip assembly here, we do have the plastic piece for the back end of that click. And I guess this is a good time to get another tray. Bring those parts in. And we're going for the little click assembly piece that goes on here. So this will go here. I'm going to bring that through. Bring your dog in. And then your E-clip. And sometimes you can just use finger pressure to push that E-clip in. If you can't, I'll go back to that piece of the tool I've been using all along here, which is my pliers. And use that for the additional leverage that you need. Set your dog to the inside. Bring the clip ring over. It's got a split in it, so make sure each goes on a shoulder. Then we're going to align the holes here. Best way to do the alignment is to use a pick, because there will need to be a little bit of tension in there just to hold that spot. Then we have the 2 small screws. Now that I have my Torx screwdriver, I can finish aligning that and setting that with the help of that piece. I'm going to go over and do the other side. Okay, that's how you set the click assembly, the side plate bearing, and the click ring for the reel. Time to reassemble. Now we want to transfer our frame, and I did remember that I left the tag end in on this side, so this is the side that the non-gear goes on. We have 4 Torx screws that were provided, and a bigger torque wrench on this one. This is a T10 for those of you playing along at home. Just like I did with the bridge, I want to alternate the screws. So this is going to be a sharp red and silver reel. Nice upgrade on the Cortez side plates, on the bridge, on the Boca Bearings, and we're moments away from actually giving it the final test, seeing how we did. Again, the original parts on this one is the gearing and the eccentric. The rest of that's been replaced in here. All right, we can put a little bit of grease onto the inside shaft of our spool. Let's bring the spool over, seat that. We have the harness lug, which we're going to invert the way it was from the shop when it was manufactured. And actually, I guess we can put the other piece on first and then bring that in. This one seems to want to do a little battle here. That was easy. Now we'll just take that harness lug, bring that in. I'm just going to leave that proud now. I'm going to get started on another one of these lug screws first, rather than wrestle with that as the first one. What an attractive looking reel. Okay. Bottom one on this side. Guess we'll save the best for last. Third one over here. Now we can bring that other one in. Grab that last remaining screw. And we'll just go put the rest of the outside plate on. Time to send our attention to finishing the task. We had a little copper shim or spacer. We have our main bearing going in. And we just need to bring the assembly over. There's a pair of shim washers, a click ratchet, and then an inner tension washer. Now, David has the option of upgrading the handle. We're going to stay with the Penn handle that came with the reel, but at some point in the future, should he want to do that upgrade, that's one that is available for him. Just going to go ahead and grab the wrench again. Hand tighten first. And make sure you tighten down on your drags so that you don't trap the handle and the star adjuster together. Tighten that up. Usually if that point lines to your screw hole, then your cap is going to sit properly and you're going to be able to drive that screw right in without further ado. Wow, what a project, huh? Total rebuild of the reel, hot rodding it, making it special. All right, what did we do? We've done an awful lot. Let's take the gloves off, take a moment to recap, then give it a final test. What a beautiful looking reel. So what David had asked me to do was to take a brand new Penn US Senator 113, it's the 4.0, as we mentioned, it's the only one made in the US, to install the Cortez machined side plates, to install the Boca Bearings, which are hybrid ceramics, and ABEC 7, which is about the highest you can go in terms of ABEC ratings, other than a 9, which is true industrial use kind of things, military and industrial. He asked me to convert this over and to give him a hot rodded reel, which is what we've done. We took the reel completely apart. We showed you how to completely rebuild the side plate, what was maintained and what was replaced. What was maintained was the eccentric lever and the springs and the main gear assembly. And the external parts were the handle, the star adjuster, and the shim washers and various components that go along with that. What was replaced were all of the bearings, the side plate screws, the click ring, and the bearings. Okay, let's give it a try. Let's see what we can do here. How are those bearings doing? Let's go into free spool. Oh my gosh. So we can probably sit here and talk for a couple of minutes while that spool spins. It's spinning so freely I can just imagine how this reel is casting. And while it's doing that, I want to thank our first responders and essential personnel for everything it is that they've done, their career choices and their dedication to keeping us all safe and out of harm's way. I want to thank you for watching. This has been quite a long video, but I think you can see the results that you get when you do hot rod a reel. It's pretty incredible. Well, let's just stop there. Wow, and that wasn't even a hard spin. You can imagine how this reel is going to cast, how it's going to perform, and well, if you've got that out on the ocean, what a beautiful reel all around. The bearings, the 4 bearings, change the spool speed. We have one in the handle there, which is going to make it easier to turn during the fight. That click going on is the double dogs in the assembly. We do not have an instant anti-reverse or a quiet one. It's those dogs making the noise as they click against that ratchet. And well, we got a nice tight drag system. This one's ready to go fishing. We are going to back this off. I do not recommend keeping the star adjuster tight when the reel is not in use. It's a good practice. It saves it from being compressed and premature wear. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that. It really has been quite an exercise here. Been a few stops along the way, but in the end we have a beautiful Cortez conversion of a Penn US Senator 113H. I want to thank you all for watching. Wishing everybody a great day. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle.